if he has any, and let's get on with it. The American people deserve to have this thing wrapped up and over with.
The woman from Alabama who left to join ISIS and marry an Islamic State fighter will not be getting her wish to return to the United States.
The attorney representing the Covington Catholic student says Nicholas Sandman's image is tarnished.
The way the media portrayed him as literally the face of evil, because he was white, he's Catholic, and he was wearing a Make America Great Again cap.
Samsung, they have been teasing this foldable phone for a while, and we are finally lured a price tag. Get this, $1,980. Let's get right to a Fox News alert. The Empire actor Jussie Smollett is now in police custody.
This just happened. The actor is under arrest hours after Chicago police named him an official suspect in the alleged hate crime against him, himself. He's charged with making false statements to police, which could result in prison time.
All right, let's go out to Chicago right now, where Matt Finn is waiting with a thorough report. Matt, we understand that apparently there's going to be a press conference at 10 o'clock Eastern time, and then he, Mr. Smollett, will be at a bond hearing at 1:30, right?
Yep, and that's correct. Chicago police confirming that right now Jussie Smollett is in the custody of Chicago police detectives, and Chicago police say their detectives testified yesterday before a grand jury to get these charges approved, as did the Osundario brothers. They testified for 2.5 hours yesterday before the grand jury, and new surveillance video shows the Osundario brothers apparently buying the supplies to carry out this attack, black masks and red hats, with which Jussie Smollett allegedly told them to purchase. Now, the attorney for the Osundario brothers says the brothers did get some type of money from Smollett, but, quote, not in the narrative that's out there. The attorney says the brothers do not have a plea deal or immunity. They were cooperating because they wanted to reveal their truth. The brothers' attorney also praises Chicago police.
When I say that the police spent countless man-hours trying to piece this together, I mean that. I absolutely mean that. When I say that my clients spent countless hours getting their story out there to the police so that they could do their work, I mean that too.
Smollett's attorney released a statement reading, quote, "Like any other citizen, Mr. Smollett enjoys the presumption of innocence, particularly when there has been an investigation like this one where information, both true and false, has been repeatedly leaked. Given these circumstances, we intend to conduct a thorough investigation to mount an aggressive defense." Right now, the attorney for the Osundario brothers says she does not expect her clients to be charged. Brian, Ainsley, Steve.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. So what we understand, TMC's got a report this morning that talks a little bit about what the brothers did tell the grand jury. And keep in mind that the grand jury handed out the indictment, and that's why he was arrested this morning. Apparently, the two brothers said they staged the hate attack. Jussie orchestrated it. They did get paid for it, didn't specify in the news article how much. They drove with him to scout the location. They rehearsed the attack, and as he said during that report, they were seen on camera buying ski masks and red hats and bandanas, and Jussie told the brothers exactly what to buy.
Well, we
there
had
it is right there.
Judge Napolitano on earlier, and he said what Jussie Smollett really needs to worry about are the federal charges against him, because he originally allegedly sent himself that letter
Through the federal
mail, and that is a hefty crime, he said, or that is a hefty sentence, up to 20 years, I think he said. But the felony charge, which was the local police's charge, up to 3 years in prison, 1 to 3 years.
Right. I mean, or he could get probation, depending on how this whole thing shakes out. I know in there was powder. They had to call a hazmat team. It ended up being crushed aspirin. You could have upwards of $25,000 in fines, 1 to 3 years. But the question is, what was behind it? Why did he actually think he could pull this off? And if you're Good Morning America and he calls and reaches out because he wants to tell his story, do you feel almost victimized? Because he's sitting there putting on his best acting face, allegedly, talking about how he was hit, and he just wants everyone to know how he fought back. That was the only thing he wanted to know. And he just bragged about the fact that everybody knows I'm in very anti-Trump. And there is some pictures of him with Kamala Harris and so many others like Cory Booker have weighed in immediately condemning the climate in this country.
Well,
Judge Napolitano was with us and told us where this could be going.
cost the city and Cook County a fortune in resources and money. I am going to guess he did not tell his own lawyers the truth. If he told his own lawyers the truth, there was a time, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 days ago, they could have gone to the prosecutors and worked out a deal. Now it is too late.
There also is a story that at the 11th hour, just before the two brothers were going to testify in front of the grand jury, apparently Smollett's attorneys called the prosecutors and said, hey, we've got exculpatory evidence that could change the whole story. We don't know what that was, but obviously it did not because he has been indicted. The judge was just talking about the resources involved. Mark Furman said last night on our channel that something like 24 different detectives were involved in this case. And here's a soundbite from a guy in Chicago, the executive director of Violence Interrupters, and he said those assets, those resources were taken away from other really important crimes.
I was born and raised in Chicago, and I know violence quite well here in Chicago, so I was one of the first community leaders that put this out on one of my LinkedIn posts. I wrote a post about it because nobody really, if you get beat up for real in Chicago, nobody gets pimp slapped in Chicago, nobody gets a pass, in other words. Making a comment about Chicago being Make America Great Again country, that does not happen in Chicago. He's receiving all the attention, and we just had a 1-year-old child, a toddler, shot in the head named Baby Chase, and he's not getting any attention. And we have a 14 to 16% homicide clearance rate. And if Jesse is guilty of the charges, he's dead wrong because he's taking much-needed attention from a serious problem in Chicago.
Absolutely. I wonder who makes the decision to put that much time and effort and resources into a celebrity accusation when there's so many other murders in, I guess, less affluent
not only
areas.
taking attention away from the people who really need the attention and fighting the real crime that's there, if this is a made-up story, then I think he should pay the city back. He should be made to pay the city back because it was very expensive for them to do all these investigations. 24 different detectives?
Well, you know what? He's a high-profile guy. Empire is a big show on a big network, filmed in Chicago, and he's a star.
Think about how this could have blown up. Like you mentioned, it could have caused riots.
No kidding.
Well, had it not, but it was determined that it was not a true story because there were some red flags out there.
Right.
But when you saw him on GMA 1 week ago today, he made the case with all of his heart that he was the victim of a hate crime. Watch this.
He said, this MAGA country punches me right in the face. So I punched it back. I noticed the rope around my neck and I started screaming.
Why did you hesitate to call the police?
There's a level of pride there. As a gay man, you were considered somehow to be weak, and I'm not weak.
Have the noose around his neck?
What would a psychiatrist say about this? Why would anyone do this? Why would they go to this extreme?
Right. And was there anybody else involved? They're looking into whether an accomplice.
He has a wonderful career. This is not like a guy who needed the attention. He was a famous actor.
Right, but one of the initial stories was he was going to be written out of Empire. Then Fox came back and said, look, he's going to be with us. We love him. One of the red flags they were talking about regarding the news, 42 minutes. It's like that was one of the first things. When cops arrived to talk to him, he was still wearing the noose. I mean, if somebody put a noose around your neck, wouldn't you take it off pretty much immediately? Right. The other one was he took the cops to the location and he said, well, it happened right here, and luckily there's a surveillance camera right there. The cops all thought that's weird that he would see that, and they go, you know what, that's pointing the other way. The brothers did tell, apparently, the grand jury that they rehearsed it, so was that spot selected because it was under that camera? And at that point, he didn't know it was pointing the other way.
Right, maybe he was the one who twisted the other way while he staged the whole thing. Who knows? Meanwhile, 9 minutes after the hour, I don't know if you heard, but the Democrats weren't too thrilled with the president's announcements last Thursday, declaring a state of emergency so he can continue building the wall and repurposing some money.
They didn't like that?
Up to $8. Yeah, it turns out, I have sources. It goes up to $8 billion. Today, to the credit of four House Democrats, they're going down to the border themselves. My hope is this isn't staged. They get to see how bad situations are and what the resources actually needed down there. And there are the four Dems that are going down. Of course, Benny Thompson is chairman of Homeland Security. So my hope is that he goes there with an open mind and open ears and listens to Border Patrol.
People have been calling on Nancy Pelosi to go down there to the border. So good for those Democrats for going down there, talking to the border agents. Maybe they'll find out, what they really need. Many of them are saying they really do need that wall. Joaquin Castro, he introduced this legislation that is will will go before the House tomorrow. And then Nancy Pelosi sent letters to every single person in the House, Democrats and Republicans, saying, please, if you want to sign on to this legislation, please do so.
Remember, it was just a week or two ago when they were going to have the big vote. They said, the Democrats said, we got to hear from the experts. They heard from the experts. They all said, we need a wall. And then they voted against the wall.
If they vote against the emergency declaration, then it still goes to the president's desk and he could veto it. And
for the resolution. But
Correct.
the big question is, what would the Senate do? And the Senate probably would not pass it. So stay tuned for that.
Okay.
Meanwhile, 7-Eleven here in New York City.
Jillian has some headlines for us. Hi.
That's right. Good morning to you. Let's start up with this. A Coast Guard lieutenant accused of plotting a mass domestic terror attack is due in court today. Prosecutors say Christopher Paul Hassan had a hit list of possible targets, including Democratic leaders and journalists. He also wanted to kill every last person on Earth. The self-proclaimed white nationalist stockpiling 15 firearms with more than 1,000 rounds of ammo in his basement in Maryland. Pope Francis is hosting a summit at the Vatican to address sexual abuse in the Catholic Church. Starting today, church leaders from around the world are meeting with high-ranking Vatican officials to focus on ways to move forward. The 4-day summit will address transparency, the responsibilities of bishops, and holding church leaders accountable. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein will make his first public appearance today since word got out that he's stepping down. Rosenstein is scheduled to speak at his alma mater, the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. He's expected to leave his post at the DOJ by mid-March. And everyone holding their breath after the nation's best basketball prospect's shoe blows out. Look at that, less than a minute into a game. Zion Williamson's foot tearing right through his Nike sneaker as he dribbled away from a UNC player. In a statement, Nike says, quote, "While this is an isolated occurrence, we are working to identify the issue." The Tar Heels beat top-ranked Duke 88-72. Williamson has a minor knee sprain. He's expected to be the number 1 NBA draft pick.
Yeah, they say Knicks fans were worried because the Knicks have the worst team in basketball, and theoretically they'd have more ping pong balls, and they look at him as their rookie.
It's a sprain, though. I mean, sprains can sometimes be worse than breaks. While you fix that.
Okay. Hey, Ainsley, take over the basketball team.
Pat Williams said you could hear the crowd go when they realized
President Obama was at the game.
Good player.
All right, Jillian, thank you very much. Remember that Vermont college land deal scandal involving Bernie Sanders' wife? Well, our next guest asked the feds to look into it years ago, why he says it could come back to haunt Bernie's 2020 campaign.
Plus, one police department is getting pumped up, and they brought in a four-legged friend to help out. How cute is that?
The dog is awesome.
Rising up, back on the street.
Bernie Sanders entered the 2020 field this past week, but past troubles may come back to haunt him. Like, for example, his wife Jane's tenure as president of Burlington. Here with more is Vermont lawyer and Republican Vice Chair Brady Tensing, joins us today from D.C. Brady, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so the college closed with a crushing weight of debt because she bought, in part, 32 acres to expand the college. Took out $6.7 million in tax-exempt loans. What's your problem with that? It sounds like she was just trying to grow things bigger.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I like bigger things, and I like successful businesses, and I understand there's risk. But there's also something called bank fraud. And what happened was that Jane Sanders misrepresented, lied about confirmed contributions to the school in order to get the bank loan to buy this property.
How did she lie?
Well, she overstated the contributions. And we know this because we know this for at least 3 reasons. One, the school is only able to collect about 25% of the claimed contributions. Number 2, the school's own audit report showed the fraud. And number 3, donors came forward to say that their pledges were overstated, that they were misrepresented.
Now, as I understand it, a couple of years ago, you actually you sent a letter to the feds and said, hey, you got to look into this. What happened with that?
Well, we don't know officially what happened with that because the federal officials don't discuss investigations and they don't discuss closing investigations. But Bernie Sanders' office
has claimed that it was closed without prosecution. And this is the shame of this, Steve. If that is exactly what happened, there's not going to be a special prosecutor's report that comes out and explains exactly what role Senator Sanders played in getting this loan or what evidence was in front of the prosecutors that they declined to go forward on. We just have Senator Sanders, who refused to answer questions during the investigation because the investigation was going on, and now he refuses to answer questions because it's closed.
Okay. We got a statement from Jeff Weaver, senior advisor to Bernie Sanders in 2020. These false allegations began with a politically motivated complaint by Trump's 2016 Vermont chairman. As Jane has said from the beginning, she has done nothing wrong and was pleased that the investigation came to an end months ago. It's no coincidence that after Bernie Sanders' record-breaking fundraising during the first day of his campaign, Fox News is regurgitating false attacks from Trump's cronies. The worry was that ultimately they just got a sweetheart deal because she was Bernie's wife, right?
Well, there's not only the worry, there's evidence. If she'd been Jane Doe instead of Jane Sanders, she never would have gotten this loan. It never would have survived the most basic of underwriting. The subsequent president, who was tasked with trying to clean up Jane's mess and trying to save the college, herself said that it appears as though the senator, that the school received special treatment, Jane received special treatment because of Senator Sanders' power in the state.
Okay. Nonetheless, the feds did not prosecute, and we don't know exactly why, but Brady, thank you very much for joining us from D.C. and telling us the story.
Thank you.
All right. 7:20 now here in New York City. Some Catholic foster care centers are being targeted over their faith. One leader who fought back and won is going to join us live. Coming up next, New York City. Time now for your news by the numbers. First number is 7. That's how many groups Education Secretary Betsy DeVos just donated a portion of her salary to. One recipient is the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, which benefits historically black colleges and universities. It's unclear how much she has donated in all. Meanwhile, $15.5 million. That's how much the Republican National Committee raised just last month. Campaign finance documents show the RNC has nearly $29 million as it prepares for 2020. And finally, $399,000. That's the fine California must pay after trying to force pro-life centers to promote abortion. The Supreme Court struck down the law requiring clinics to post signs about those abortions. All right, some of the news, Brian.
All right, Steve. Faith-based foster care providers fighting for religious freedom after a new federal law waiver allows them to keep working with couples who stick to traditional Christian beliefs.
Left-wing groups are outraged. The Center for American Progress arguing this weaponizes our nation's right to religious freedom in order to justify discrimination in the foster care system, depriving children of welcoming homes. Reed Lehman is CEO of Miracle Hill Ministries, and he joins us now from South Carolina to react. Good morning to you. Thanks for being with us.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Tell us about your ministry and your program, please.
Miracle Hill is organized around a mission that homeless children and adults receive food, shelter, and compassion while hearing the good news of Jesus Christ and moving to healthy relationships and stability. We provide more shelter for homeless adults than anybody else in the state. We have the largest level 1 foster program in the state. We provide addiction recovery. We have thrift stores. And we work cooperatively with the people around us to be sure that the network for care of the homeless is as robust as possible.
So why did you want a waiver to allow you to continue your program in the tradition of the Christian tradition? What was happening?
I'm sort of offended by the term waiver. We wanted clarification that the religious rights of religious providers would be protected as they always have been. We've been providing this care for more than 30 years, and we've always had the opportunity to work with our faith community, which is centered around our love for Jesus Christ.
And what did the ACLU, what did they have a problem with?
I don't know which groups specifically, many groups seem to have a problem with it, but they're saying that we restrict the ability, the choices available to care for children, and nothing could be further from the truth. South Carolina is 1,000 families short. We want as many people as possible caring for foster children as we can get, and we're providing 225 families today to do that.
And you just don't want same-sex couples helping you out.
We want to be able to work with people who share our faith. We received nothing for recruiting families, which cost us about $2,000 apiece. We received partial reimbursement for the care of the children once DSS places them in those families. But we're simply saying, let us work with people of our faith, and there are 8 other agencies here in the upstate that other people who don't share our faith can partner with.
Okay, well, for folks at home that agree with you and that are watching, how can they help?
Well, it's been a costly fight. It's cost us, there have been lies told about us. It's cost us support. They can send some. But more than that, for those who share our faith, we'd ask you to pray. Right. For those who have some influence, just encourage your senators and congressmen to continue protecting the rights of religious providers across the country. And we're grateful that the...
Right. And just let me just tell you, the other side is this. Leslie Cooper, the deputy director of the ACLU LGBT and HIV project, says it's a terrible decision that will hurt the children. These children welfare programs were created to help while incentivizing other states to follow South Carolina's bad example. So obviously a detractor, not happy with the waiver.
Well, I appreciate that the Coalition for Jewish Values, the national organization, stands with us. The Catholic Diocese stands with us. I grieve over the loss of the 120 families in Philadelphia because they simply want to follow their faith.
Okay, Reed Lehman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
All right, 31 minutes to the top of the hour. Jussie Smollett turning himself into Chicago police just a short time ago, hours after police named him an official suspect in the alleged hate crime against himself. Michelle Malkin will react to this breaking news.
Plus, Kamala Harris joked about smoking pot, but guess who isn't laughing? Her own father. We'll tell you what he said.
The prosecution and a punishment. This particular hate hoax has to be atoned for.
And the thing is, it's not about him, it's about others that could falsely do this and the ramifications. Now, you're a repeated victim of violent crime yourself. Now, just so when it comes to Jussie, this easily could have been a race riot. When you talk about they attacked me because I was black, they threw bleach on me, they attacked me because I was gay, this is MAGA country. You know, there's people who are already on the edge when they wake up in the morning. All they need is something to set them off.
Exactly right. First of all, the good news is that nobody in Chicago believed this hoax, okay? Because first of all, anyone who's ever been to Chicago knows this is not MAGA country. Despite all of my efforts on my, the Citizen Kelly radio show, we have not become MAGA country here in the city of Chicago quite yet. Okay, but the combination of first of all, this allegedly took place at 2 a.m. in the morning during a polar vortex, and bleach was allegedly poured over Jussie Smollett's head. Anyone who's been in Chicago for the last month knows that if any liquid was poured over your head, it would be frozen to your face for life, okay? I'm not a detective, but I do know that this hoax did not add up from the word go, not to mention the fact that anyone who's ever been raised in Chicago knows that the fact that nobody was shot during this alleged incident proves right there that this is a hoax.
He kept his Subway sandwich.
Exactly.
He kept his phone.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, William, thank you so much for being on with us.
I'm a little concerned, though, about the Chicago police who actually exposed this hoax, because I'm afraid they might go down in history the way the Watergate, the night security guard at the Watergate Hotel is going to go down in history, because there's more to this hoax. We don't really know the motive, who else is involved, and I think that the Chicago Police Department may have exposed the Democrat, hate crime industrial complex.
Well, see, there might be an accomplice involved. We know that.
He's going to court today.
William Kelly, thanks.
Thank you, William.
Straight ahead, the U.S.-born ISIS bride fled to Syria to help ISIS kill Americans. Now she just wants to come home. Should she come home?
Do you think you deserve a punishment for what you did?
Maybe therapy lessons.
But will the law and the U.S. government let her back in America? And does she have a deductible that we should get her therapy?
Plus, Robert Mueller's Russia probe could be released as soon as next week, but the judge says that would be bad timing.
Why, Judge?
He explains
You have to
why.
tell me
Coming
why.
up. Should the Mueller report be released while you're abroad next week?
That'll be totally up to the new Attorney General. He's a tremendous man, a tremendous person who really respects this country and respects the Justice Department. So that'll be totally up to him. The new Attorney General, yes.
Okay, we got a new Attorney General, and he's going to be the decider of when we get to see these things. Judge Andrew Napolitano, senior judicial analyst and the host of Liberty File, Fox Nation, joins us live. We just had Josh Hawley on. He's on the Judiciary Committee. He's only hearing what we're hearing. There are news reports that the Mueller probe could come out next week. But then again, you look at how things line up. We have a new Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, leaving. He had said he was going to oversee it. So, what do you think?
I don't think it's going to come out as one report, and I don't think it's going to come out next week. The reason I said I hope it doesn't come out next week is because the President of the United States is 10,000 miles away, doing very, very serious work. And I don't think he wants, and the world wants or expects his attention to be diverted to this. The issue is going to be, will the entire report be made public? Chuck Grassley, the former chair of the Judiciary Committee, Republican, has been lobbying that the entire report, whatever is in there, good or bad, the public is entitled to see it.
Absolutely.
So here's what will happen.
Appropriate redactions aside,
well,
if someone's security is in jeopardy.
Yes. Here's what will happen, though. Once Congress gets its hands on that report, any member of Congress can bring it to the floor of the House or the floor of the Senate and release it with impunity. There's no legal recourse against them.
And it becomes a political document.
Correct. Now, what else is going to happen in the week after next when President Trump is back from Vietnam? Michael Cohen's public testimony.
I thought it was next week.
Oh, excuse me. It is next week. It is while he's away. I'm sorry.
And he can't talk about the case. He's going to talk about what a horrible person Donald Trump is.
This is just a political claptrap. We think. I mean, maybe there's going to be some other allegation. I don't know.
Yep.
But Mueller's report, in my view, probably will come in stages, and parts of it will be a summary.
Judge, which makes you think that? I just thought, here it is. I'm done.
Because what makes me think that is people that I've been talking to, as well as the fact that there are parts of it that are really not related to other parts. And if Bob Mueller does release the report in 2 weeks and closes down shop, then he's got to pass certain prosecutions, like Roger Stone's. Stone's going to be in court this afternoon.
Trying to stay
onto the task of regular prosecutors.
When DOJ was investigating Hillary Clinton, and James Comey came out and he listed all the things that she had done wrong, all the laws that she had broken, and then he said, but we've decided not to indict her. It's now coming out that the legal counsel there at the FBI or out with DOJ, the one who said you can't wiretap Jim Baker.
Right.
He is now coming out and saying his recommendation was, when he read the law, Hillary Clinton did break the law, she should be prosecuted.
It's a recommendation with which I agreed, and we discussed this many, many, many times before President Trump was elected. The evidence, in my view, of her guilt is overwhelming. You know, Andrew McCabe, for all of his credibility problems, did say something that was very interesting. I don't know if he said this at the time. There ought to have been a special counsel for Hillary Clinton. It should have been separated from Jim Comey and separated from Loretta Lynch, who had been appointed by Barack Obama.
What James Baker went on to say during this closed-door testimony, which now some portions of the Radcliffe interrogation have been released, it shows that James Baker said, yeah, I thought she should be prosecuted until the very end of the process, and I was talked out of it by people at the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Political
I wonder
decision.
who that would be.
Well, of course, we know what happened. They talked him out of wanting her to be indicted because they thought she was going to be president and their boss.
He went on to say that she goes, I ultimately didn't go for it because I couldn't prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the intent to deceive.
You know what? You can infer intent, and besides, there is a portion of that statute, failure to safeguard state secrets, which you can violate by gross negligence. Right. And for gross negligence, you don't have to prove intent.
Real quickly,
and Comey knows that.
Chicago, Jussie Smollett. How serious is this?
I think his greater worry is the potential federal prosecution. By mailing a letter to himself a threatening letter to himself. He committed postal fraud, 5 to 10 years. That's 2 to 3 in jail. That's 2 to 3 times what he faces for lying to the Chicago cops.
He said, and they had the hazmat team there and the resources they needed to secure that environment.
He cost the city and Cook County a fortune in resources and money.
Do we know for sure he wrote that letter?
No, we don't. No, we don't. But the feds are investigating it.
Apparently, yesterday at the grand jury, the brothers said we were not involved in it, but the brothers told him everything else. He said, "Yeah, he paid us $3,500. He timed it so that we were going to go to Nigeria the next day." They have spilled the beans on him.
I am going to guess he did not tell his own lawyers the truth. If he told his own lawyers the truth, there was a time, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 days ago, they could have gone to the prosecutors and worked at a deal. Now it is too late.
It's so funny you say that because I was wondering, like, how does that conversation go down? You hire your attorney, you say, I didn't do this, I'm accused of this, I didn't do it. Or, he wasn't even accused at this point.
Right.
You hire the attorney, and then does he say to him, oh, yeah, I actually did that?
So the attorney says you have one defense remaining, temporary insanity.
Right.
Which I don't think would wash, but I don't know what other defense there is.
He's hired Mark Gergos. What does that say?
He's not licensed, though, in that area. He can't
Well,
be
he can get himself licensed for just one case. I guess they want a show trial. That's what Mark does, and he's very good at it.
All right. He just got a whole bunch of Kaepernick money, so he can definitely
did he
afford it.
represent Kaepernick?
Yes, please don't yell at me, Judge.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No, I'm just excited about
You saw him yell at me? You saw that?
loud.
Yes,
saw
you
that.
got the money.
I love you, Brian.
All right, good. Well, all forgiven. Judge,
Thank you very much.
Where's Jillian?
She's right behind you. She's got the headlines.
Please don't yell at me. Good morning. Let's get you caught up on your news, starting with this. The Trump administration refusing to allow an American ISIS bride back into the U.S. Hoda Muthana is begging to return home with her son after leaving for Syria in 2014. In a statement, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says she's not an American citizen, writing, quote, she does not have any legal basis, no valid U.S. passport, no right to a passport, nor any visa to travel to the United States. Her lawyer, though, denies that claim and says her birth certificate proves she was born in New Jersey. Stay tuned for more on that. You remember the woman who made headlines scaling the Statue of Liberty on the 4th of July? Well, she's back. Teresa Okumu was convicted in the dangerous stint protesting immigration policies, and now she's behind bars in Austin, Texas, for doing the same thing. The activist climbing 5 stories without any ropes, sitting on a beam for 8 hours with an Abolish ICE banner. She eventually climbed down on her own. Charges are pending. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez responds to a critical billboard with a clip from The Office. The Times Square sign reads, quote, Amazon pullout, thanks for nothing, AOC. The group behind the message blames the Democratic Socialist for Amazon canceling its New York headquarters. Ocasio-Cortez tweeting that the sign is like a billionaire's version of this scene from The Office.
We have bubblegum shrimp, red lobster down there. You know, this is the heart of civilization right here.
Ocasio-Cortez trying to express that she thinks the Times Square sign is out of touch with real New Yorkers. Country star Miranda Lambert is a brand new police wife, but apparently the NYPD officer is getting so much attention now that he had to be taken off foot patrol. Lambert and Officer Brendan McLaughlin announced their surprise marriage last week. He's reportedly on police driver duty for the time being because he's getting so much attention.
There's so much to that story.
He tried marrying famous. It didn't work, right?
No, he was allegedly engaged to a girl.
He didn't marry her because she was famous.
No, but they were married. Who was he married to before?
He was engaged to a girl.
No, who was Miranda?
Oh, she married to the guy, the Blake Shelton.
Blake Shelton. Yeah, that didn't work. So go everyday man.
Okay. By the way, Chicago police just tweeted they have taken Empire star Jussie Smollett into custody and a bond hearing at 1:30. Janice joins us right now with the Fox Cast.
Someone who's not in custody.
Well, I mean, you don't know what passed. Read the book, Mostly Sunny. Okay, let's take a look at the maps real quick. You know, it feels warmer outside because it is. We had colder, warmer air move in last night, and it was mainly a rain event. We still have some snowbanks behind me, and if we could go to the maps, and I will show you what I'm talking about. 51 here in New York. Oh, that's the forecast highs. Okay, no, it's not currently 51. Let's take a look at the... Oh, my gosh. It's all falling apart at the seams. Here is the precipitation for the Southwest. This is a big story, my friends. We're going to get snow as far south as Tucson, Arizona. It was snowing in Las Vegas last night. I kind of wish I was in Las Vegas right now. Feeling a little lucky.
All right. And we're lucky to have you, Janice.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Listen to her.
Thanks, Janice.
All right, straight ahead, a new wave of migrants now at our doorstep, and it's the same border area where Beto O'Rourke vowed to tear down the wall. Griff Jenkins is live on the ground, and he's in Mexico. Coming up next.
And remember the land deal scandal surrounding Bernie Sanders' wife? Could that come back to haunt his 2020 campaign?
Good morning. We're back with a Fox News alert. Empire actor Jussie Smollett is now in police custody in Chicago. Chicago police arresting Smollett hours after naming him an official suspect in the alleged hate crime attack against himself. He's charged with making false statements to police and could face time in prison if convicted. A police news conference is expected to reveal more details at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Smollett is due in court this afternoon. This is a story, guys, that has been unraveling by the minute.
It has indeed. All right, Jillian, thank you very much.
A brand new wave of migrants arrive at the Mexican border, ready to cross into the United States.
Here we go again. They're now camped out near the same border wall that potential 2020 candidate Beto O'Rourke wants to take down.
Griff Jenkins is live on the ground in Mexico with the caravan as those migrants prepare to start their day. And Griff, they're just waiting to be let in, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Another caravan yesterday in the southern part of Mexico's border, forcing their way across 1,000 or more, clashing with officials. Finally, officials just let them in. They'll eventually make their way up here to Ciudad Juarez. We're across from El Paso, but you can see another shelter here. They got the barbed wire. They got them in there. A minimal police presence. It's been pretty quiet all morning. But, you know, there's one of two shelters here, more than 1,000 migrants in Ciudad Juarez, trying to deal with the numbers that are spilling over into El Paso. Let me just show you those numbers. They are up 478% this year in apprehensions. You've got 43,238 in fiscal year 19 compared to only 7,481 last year. Now, when we were in the shelter yesterday, the other one we talked to, Randy Davidson, one of the migrants from Honduras, and I asked him about Democrat hopefuls talking about tearing down the wall. Here's what he had to say.
Mexico ain't planning to build a wall. If Mexico was planning to build a wall, then I won't be worried about it.
Because then you can't come back.
Then I won't be able to come back. And Guatemala very ugly. It's like the same Honduras.
So he doesn't want a wall on Mexico's southern border. Meanwhile, DHS Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen was south of the Mexico's border in El Salvador, meeting with the Northern Triangle countries, trying to come up with a solution to stop the flow of migrants, guys.
All right, Griff Jenkins live in Mexico with the very latest on the caravan as they await. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Griff. Nick Sandmann's lawyer blasting the media after filing that $250 million lawsuit against the Washington Post. Why he says it's not just about the money.
Plus, our next guest went from the military to minor league baseball to the NBA. How did he do it? We're going to share the 12 essential skills you can develop next. From his days in the military to the minor league baseball days of Pat Williams to his fabulous NBA career, our next guest has spent 50 years, by the way, in sports, and he's one of America's top motivational speakers. In this new book, he's taking a page from West Point and how you can utilize the military academy's 12 core virtues to build leadership skills in yourself and your family, your team, your workplace. The name of the book is Character Carved in Stone. These are the stories of West Point grads, many of which we know of. Pat Williams, welcome back to the couch. Great to see you. How many books have you written now?
This is book 110, believe it or not.
110 books.
Yes.
I love this one. I couldn't put it down, especially when I read the foreword. West Point teaches a lot. The characteristics that are outlined are compassion, courage, dedication, determination, dignity, discipline, integrity, loyalty, perseverance, responsibility, service, and trust. But your foreword is by a graduate of West Point.
Well, Mike Krzyzewski, the Duke coach, went to West Point. He wrote the foreword for us, and he's one of the featured people that we write about in the book. I went up to speak at West Point, Brian, a few years ago to the teams and the coaches. They gave me a little tour of the campus, and we came to a little park called Trophy Point, and I looked around and I saw these benches there. Counted them, there were 12, and at the end of each bench, carved into the stone, was a word, a different word on each bench. And I went and looked at all of them, and the words that you just read are what are on the benches. And
Who was saying that?
I said, boy, that's got well-kept secret. I never had heard of that. And then I thought, these are the principles they want the cadets to follow. I said, I think that's got a book in it. So.
Right, and for to help everybody who isn't lucky enough to get a nomination to get in, Coach K in particular is known for his character. He says the best movie ever made, even though everybody was recruiting him, was when Bobby Knight came to his house, talked Polish to his mother, and convinced Coach K to become Mike Krzyzewski to go to West Point. It's his best move ever, and that really affected his life.
Mike would tell you that. He said his years at West Point were life-changing. One of the principles that we write about here is responsibility. As a freshman, Coach K was walking across the campus. He got mud and dirt splashed on his shoes. An officer stopped him, challenged him. Mike tried to excuse his way out. And he was told, at West Point, there are three answers when you're challenged. Yes, sir. No, sir. No excuse, sir.
Gotcha.
And Coach K learned from that, I am responsible.
And man, has he paid off. Matthew Ridgway, you say, is a great example, the legendary officer of loyalty.
Well, on D-Day, Matthew Ridgway, the general, parachuted behind Nazi lines into France with his troops. How about that? He was not back in London shouting out orders or somewhere removed.
Right.
He was parachuting in with his troops.
Like Washington and Grant, he liked to be there in the beginning. And real quick, Eisenhower, he became a president for a reason. He had integrity.
Well, he was in the Philippines, and the Philippine government was handing out enormous sums of money to officers, you know, for their work or in gratitude. Eisenhower said, I get paid to do my job. I don't take anything extra. Ike. Gotta love Ike.
I love the fact that he came to running for re-election. He says, I'm not going to run. If they don't want me, they don't vote for me. If they're going to vote for me, I'll do another 4 years.
Yeah.
Pat Williams, this is an unbelievable book. It's a must-read. It's called Character Carved in Stone, for parents, for coaches. Congratulations on all your success. We'll talk more on radio, okay?
Thank you. I'll see you a little bit later, Brian. Good to see you.
Great to see you, Pat. Meanwhile, breaking news out of Chicago. Jussie Smollett turning himself in to police moments ago. We're going to go live there to find out the latest and what he is looking at legally.
Empire actor Jussie Smollett is now in police custody in Chicago.